case you are dragging a dimension, and if it is a kind of categorical field or text field, then what happens as soon as you drag it on filter, you get all the individual values of that particular field. Uh, Over here you have a couple of options like select from list, custom value list, and use all. So generally, when we work on the projects, we go for use all, so that whenever there is a change in the underlying data source, whenever there is a new value getting added into this field or anything getting removed, that will directly impact your data. In case you change it to like select from list, what will happen? Only these values which you are getting at the time of creating this filter, they will remain static, right? They will not update whenever your database values are getting updated. So it's better to use all, so that whenever there is a change in database, this will also update. I think somebody was speaking anything. Okay, fine. So that is one of the options. What we get on the front, that is on the general tab. Over here in select from list, as of now we can see furniture, office space, technology. I mean, it's selected and we'll be able to see these values. Whereas if you mark this particular option, exclude, so what will happen? Anything whichever is selected over here, that will be only that will not be shown. Others will be shown. For example, if let's say I keep furniture and office supplies as it is and select technology and check this mark also, so what would happen if I click on show filter? It is going to show me these things wherein I can see furniture and office supplies, but the values for this technology will be hidden from the view. What I mean is, if I put it here, you see technology is selected over here, you can't see the technology here. Whichever you select, that will go away. So anything which is unselected will appear into the list. That is a use of exclude option. You can control that from here, this one, or you can control that from here. It is exclude values. You can do include values. It's the same option. So over here, see, now as soon as I clicked on include, it is working like whichever is selected, only that appears here. So either you go for include or exclude. In exclude, whatever you select, that will be hidden from the view, or include, whichever you select, that will appear here. I'll show it once again. It's include or exclude right here in the options, or you can edit the same using this checkbox. So either of these options, both are for the filter properties, and you can control in order to show your values. Now the second one is wildcard. Wildcard is basically likewise in Excel or like for function in SQL Server. You just need to provide a keyword over here, and basis that it'll filter out the data. So and the same thing can be done over here as well. So you can go here, customize, and wildcard match. This is the option which you can select. So if you do that wildcard match, you just need to type in the keyword, and whichever keyword you'll type and with whichever value it matches, it will show you that. See, if I just simply type T, there are two keywords wherein you are getting T, and that's why you are getting this value. Now it's a wildcard, same option. I mean, we kind of enabled it from here, and the same thing can be done from here as well. So wildcard, see, you can see the T over here automatically. Now it contains right now the property which you have selected contains by default like any value or any entity which has T in it, it will filter only those elements. Otherwise, you can go with start with So any element which starts with T, it will filter out those. So there is only the one thing, that is technology. Or ends with, so it will look for last character as T, and in that case we don't have anything right now. Or if I say exactly matches, which means it will compare word to word. So again, it is only T, and we had many values which doesn't have anything as T. So that's why it is not showing any value over here. Any doubt here? Anybody?
Kendra, in the general piece where you were showing that we can use go to can you please go to general option, the first one,
Okay.
the first one. So just wanted to ask you, suppose we have mistakenly selected select from the list. Is it possible that once we prepare it, we can make these changes? We can alter the changes to use all. Is it okay or no?
So this option basically only developers who is working on Tableau desktop can change.
But
Let's
we
say,
can do it later on also, right? Or it's at
yeah,
the
yeah.
one go?
Anytime a developer or person using Tableau desktop can change. Let's say you published it, and users see whatever you select here, users will see those options only. So that's what I'm saying. uh, you can change anytime whenever you want, but for user perspective, once you published it, this is the functionality it will work. Let's say you published a dashboard and selected a select from list, and you forgot, then this will not update, right? You will have to download that workbook, edit it, and then publish it again, but it can be done.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other question? Anybody? Okay, so let's move to the next option. After general, we had a wildcard. Now let's look at condition. So condition is basically it's a combination of your dimension and measure. Now dimension will of course be the category over here, because we are putting a filter on top of it. So as of now it is selected as none, but what we can do is we can put a condition by field, and what happens here, you select that field. Let's say I want to apply filter on category, but I want where either, let's say, city. Okay, it's basically the aggregation. So taking the count of city and all will not be a good option, but yes, go for the measures ones. For example, sales. So if it is sales, sum, you can apply a condition where greater than or less than, equal to, all these conditions. For example, if I do where sales is less than, maybe let's say if I type 1000, so it will give you all the records where sales is less than 1000. Or if I do greater than 1000, we can define the range also, minimum and maximum. So within that this filter will work. So these type of conditions also we can define over here on top of the data. But this thing what we are doing over here, is it, again, this is only for the person who's working on Tableau desktop, because this feature users cannot see, or let's say once you published it, like other people, audience will not be able to see. So it might have a problem in case if it is implemented incorrectly. So that's why we need to kind of be careful while applying or implementing these conditions. Then the last one is top. Now this top basically it works both ways, top and bottom. So you have options like top and bottom, both, whichever you select, it will work accordingly. And this is related to, again, similar to conditions only. So here if you write bottom 10 and you need to select a field, let's say sales of some. So it will filter top 10 values by sales by applying the sum operator. Let's do one thing. I'll remove this category first of all. Let's take state where we have more values. and I will add this as a filter, and on top of it I'll apply top, and over here what I'm going to do is top 10, where let's say sales of some sales of sales a sum of sales. Okay, so what we are doing is we are trying to filter out top 10 state by sum of sales. That's a statement. We want to filter out top 10 states by sum of sales. If I say apply, you will notice you will get only top 10. Now, even if I drag sales over here, where is sales? Okay, so if you notice here, we are getting top 10. Let me show you the values as well. Yes, this is the values of these sales for this particular state. Now I can go ahead there and edit it once more. Top, if I type let's say 15 and apply, you will get 15 states. Or if I just change it to bottom, what will happen? You will get bottom 15 states. Now bottom 15 states basically uh, by the sales cannot be in negative, that's why you are getting everything in positive. If we just take it, let's say over here profit, then you will see bottom as well as top states in both ways. For example, this right now it is by sales. I'll go there again, edit top, I'll change it to let's say profit. Here we go, and it's bottom right now, so it'll come like this. It's negative profit. Or if I change it to top, you're going to get positive, something like this. So using that filter, you can show top 10, top bottom. Before that, you had condition. Prior to that, you had wildcard and the general tab. So all those filter options you will get only if you are using a text field or a dimensional field. Right? Any doubts in any of these four tabs?
In condition, you said we are giving the measures, right?
In condition,
Yeah. Uh,
yeah,
like
you
in,
are defi
yeah.
you are giving condition like less than or equal to, and you're selecting a measure, so that basis that amount or the value what you mentioned, you will get records as per that.
Okay. Like what measures? Can you explain like how?
Okay, so over here what I'm going to do is, let's say you have what you have done, you have plotted a profit over here, right? Now I'll just go there, I'll select let's say by profit sum. What I'm saying is, let's say I want all the records where my profit is let's say 5,000. If I apply, right now I'm not getting anything. Let me go by 500. Okay, I don't see anything 500. Let me apply less than or equal to, so that I can get some values. So as soon as I did 500, I said less than or equal to 500, right? I want all the records where profit is less than or equal to 500. Now whatever values you are getting here, they are less than 500 only until 454. These are the negative values, and this is the positive value which you started getting. Or let's say if you change it to greater than or equal to and apply, so you will get everything which is greater than 500. Even I can do 5,000 now. So you'll get everything which is more than 5,000. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So here it is showing like profit which is greater than equal to 5,000.
Right.
What about this sum? You have given sum also. Yeah.
Okay. So what happens under these states, right, or the records? What we are doing is this aggregation, the number which you get, it is coming by sum only, right? See the formula here, sum.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Even if you change it to, let's say, average,
Mm,
right? Then you will have to go there in edit. You can select, average also, and basis that you can apply that condition. So it's right. So there are different aggregations which you can apply, and accordingly you will get the values. Sum is one of the example. Similarly, average.
okay. This sum you have given by clicking over the average profit, right? Column.
This one,
Yeah.
if you click on this drop down
Mm,
and you go to measures, then you will get all the type of aggregations which are
okay.
possible over here, and then you can select sum, median, count, or anything.
So is it like this average this function and the filter like condition should be same. Like in condition also we are giving sum or average, right?
No, it need not to be same, right?
Okay.
Whatever I do over here in edit,
Mm,
the condition which I apply here, it will work in the back end and it will show the results accordingly. For example, over here I'm showing average, right? But if I select, let's say, sum, this condition will still work. It will work in backend and it will show the result to us. See, records are still changing, right?
yeah. Yeah.
So that will work. It's need not to be same, but for like you would not know until unless you come here, right?
Yeah. Correct. Okay.
So for that, it is good to have a similar condition, but similar calculation. But in case the requirement is, look, no, I want to filter it by average, but I want to show the sum, you can do that. There is no restriction.
Okay. Like, what is the difference we will have basically between measure and dimension?
Okay, so let me just go back to data source. Okay, can anyone would like to answer this question? What is the difference between dimension and measure? Anybody from the group?
Measures are the summable columns. Dimensions are not summable.
Right. So anything wherein you can apply.
Yeah. Okay, please
Yeah,
carry on.
yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, so dimensions, you can term that they will always be something like category, I mean headers kind of a thing, and measures will always be field wherein numbers will be involved or calculations will be involved, and that is the reason that both are differentiated by different colors, blue and green. So
Right.
over to you. Thanks. Yeah.
Yep. Yep. Thank you. So I think both the answers are correct. Anything, Sashwati, over here, you see the textual values or categorical values, right? Those will be known as your dimensions, right? Now,
Yeah.
over here, if you see, like as soon as we add anything in the data source, Tableau automatically categorizes them. So anywhere you see ABC data type, that's by default your dimensions. Anywhere you see the calendar, that is your date. And if you see this hash icon or sign, that is which means it is a numerical field. So by default, Tableau converts these numerical signs into measures, and you see them below this line. Anything which comes over here, that is either numerical or that will be part of your measure, and anything which is above this line, will be your dimensions. This is
Okay.
measure, these are dimensions, right?
Okay.
You can perform
Okay.
calculations on top of it, and you can divide and kind of classify or show the categories based out of your data using dimensions.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. All right. Now, other than this, the filters which we saw here on the textual fields, uh, we can definitely talk about these options over here. So, okay, let's talk about these once we finish uh, filters for others. So, textual fields we have already seen. We can take a look of date once again. So date over here, we kind of, I mentioned yesterday that if you go for relative date or range of date, you get different options. Like relative shows next year, current year, like that. See, last 3 years, next 3 years, tomorrow, yesterday, with relative to a particular date. Because it is relative to a particular date, that's why it is called a relative dates. So I'll just close it and we'll go back, add it once more. Now, range of date is nothing but your start date, end date, and between those ranges, you will get everything. So it's the same pop-up, but within that, it is by default selected range of dates, your start date and end date. That is what you can show over here. Now, I'll just drag it again. Now, apart from these two options, if you select anything else, for example, year, quarter, month, days, week numbers, or anything over here, you are going to get similar options as you were getting in the text field. So you can see here, these are the individual values. Then you have condition, you have top, and then under general or conditions, you got similar options. The only thing which is missing here, that is wildcard tab. That's not here, right? Because it's a numerical field right now. So wildcard doesn't, play an important role. But yes, you got select from list. You can select the data for a particular year. Then you got custom value, and then you got use all option.
I
So
have a
all these things. Yeah, please go ahead.
question. Oh, in a situation whereby you don't have wildcards, yeah, and you have a dashboard where you have to select a range of dates, like dates from and dates to. You
Mhm.
have to use wildcard to enter those dates. What do you do?
Okay, so there are multiple ways. I mean, I know two ways through which you can implement that option. If you want to show, let me just show it to you one way, and other way I'll do it later. So let's say if I do date ranges of date, I select this and apply this. So what will happen over here? Let me hide this one. Okay, date show filter also. This is one of the implementation. Over here, what will happen? You have a start date and end date. User can select any date over here, and between this date range, the data will filter. This is one of the ways of doing it. Other way would be like you can provide these two as a separate calendar icon using the parameters, and then you will have to use a calculated field to kind of filter out your data. So that's another implementation. So by doing either of these approaches, by following either of these approaches, you can implement start date and end date kind of feature.
When you explain everything finished, would you show us a sample of showing the dates separately with the parameters?
I can show that, but do you want it to be done today only? Because
No,
so
no,
far we
no.
have not. Yeah, we can show that later. Because right now we
Okay.
have not covered parameter, we have not gone through calculated field, so it will be kind of jumping from
Yeah.
a sequence,
Yeah,
right?
that'll be later on. I just want to so you remember.
Yeah, yeah,
I've
yeah.
seen a dashboard like that. That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, sure, we can do that. Okay, so this is one of the ways. We can just use date filter, wherein you people are getting options to kind of choose start date and end date, and they can filter out the data. Other than this, like as I mentioned on filters, date filters, it's very straightforward. You can go for starting date, ending date, and null and all, so that you can use. Now Difference comes when you drag a measure or a numerical field. So yesterday we talked about continuous and discrete, and as of now everything which you can see here is a continuous values. Anything which is in the green hash sign, that will be your continuous values. So if I drag any of these, let's say discount, or maybe let's say if I drag profit, you will get options like this, like all values. All values will show you the individual values coming into the records. For example, if I do so, it will treat everything starting from the minimum value, maximum value, all that it will kind of show you here. Similar range starting from the minimum value and going up to the maximum one. Then again, it's a minimum, maximum, and a special null values and all. I'll drag it once more, and if I select sum, it's going to show you something like this. But frankly speaking, measures generally we don't use on a filter, because these numbers, this is the data, right? And it will keep on changing. So the using continuous nature of measures on filter doesn't make any sense, and it is, I mean, generally not used. You will not see anywhere the requirement where you are using measures on filters. But yes, if a measure is like in a discrete format, then we use it. Discrete, for example, you can take row ID over here. It's not a measure, but it's a numerical field. So we can convert this into measure because it's a numerical field by right clicking on it. See here, convert to continuous, convert to measure. So if your field is numerical, you can still convert that into dimension or measure, or you can make it continuous or uh, discrete. So these options are available, and if your numerical field is in form of a dimension or in discrete, then definitely we can use that on a filter. It will show you all individual values which it has like this, and you can show it for filtration purpose. Right? Any questions here? Between filters of date, string, and measure values or numerical values?
So what would be the case wherein we would be using the measure values converted into dimensions? Any such example? I'm just
Rank. So generally when we calculate rank of fields and we filter out, let's say top 5 or top 10 using rank, in that case we convert the number into discrete and then we put it on filters. Right? Rank is what? I mean, rank is by nature it is numerical, but when we want to find out top 5, basically we need to convert that into discrete or dimension, then only we can put it on filters.
okay.
Yep. So like once we'll be working on rank, I'll show you that. Any other question?
So, Satendra, can we also make it top 10 or top 5 as dynamic by user selection?
Top 5, top. Okay, so you're saying like if I go there, we have a filter top,
Yeah,
and we want to kind of this number, we want to make it dynamic, right?
right.
We can do that. It's very
Okay.
simple. Using parameter, it's very simple. We can just show a parameter and user can enter any number over there. I mean, not only just top 10 or top 5. I can enter any number, and whatever number I enter, it will show you those.
Okay, that will be covered after a couple
Yeah.
of classes, right? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, as soon as we start parameters, we can, go through that.
All right. Thanks.
Right. All right. So let's move ahead. Now we'll talk about the filter relations basically. And okay, even before that, we were talking about these filters on data source yesterday. Now over here, the filters on data sources, basically again they are going to work in the same way, the way we explored the filters on this individual sheet over here, right? But yes, let me just show you. So for example, if I add filters, you can add multiple filters also. You get this option, then you add, and as soon as you add, you get the list of all the fields in the selected data source. Now, for example, let's say I want to select basis country and region. Okay, sorry, let me take another field because it has only one value. Let me take, let's say segment. So it has three values at this moment, consumer, corporate, and home office. So what I can do is I can select any of these values. Same option, exclude and all, wildcard, condition, top, the similar options which we have just gone through. Now let's say if I select only corporate at this level, what will happen? You are going to get data for corporate segment only, right? Data is getting filtered right here on the data source level. And if you go to sheet over here, you will get data of corporate only. So I can show you the segment, show filter, only corporate value is there, right? Now the question is, why should we use data source filter? Because this is also restricting your data, and we can do the same thing from the sheet also by for restricting the data, right? The benefit of using these filters on data sources, you are restricting your data as soon as you connect to your data source, right? So that what will happen, the benefit of this is, number one, that you are not loading unnecessary data into your Tableau desktop. And number two, because you are not loading unnecessary data, your Tableau desktop's performance will be better, right? So in case there are values and you are never going to use that, the best situation is to block them at this level only. Don't even accept that for other calculation or other data loading perspective, right? But in case you need to use that for calculation or for any like other visualizations, and but you just want to filter from one sheet, then these filters are useful, right? So if there is some data which you are never going to use in a workbook, it's better to filter them here only. And as I said, like on segment we applied filter, you can add another filter, maybe on, let's say, product name, all the products. Maybe you never want to see these two, exclude, the rest of the filters will show. So one filter is kind of keep, another is exclude. Keep means include, exclude means avoid these. So those two types of filter we have applied, and accordingly we'll see the data over here, right? Is that clear, like why we are applying filters on a data source level?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, so I'll just go there, we'll remove these because I want the complete data. Going back to our sheet here, now let's talk about some options what we get over here within the filters. So let me add one more first of all. Let's say I'll add category, and I will add subcategory. Okay, so we added two filters over here. One is category and another is subcategory. right? Now, what will happen? First of all, let's take a look of these options. So edit filter, it will take you through again to that pop-up wherein you can change all the values, filter types, wildcard condition, top and bottom. Else, if you want to remove, you can definitely follow this option. Apply to worksheet. This is very important. Now, what happens? This is one of the worksheet where I have added this filter, right? And in our current situation, what is happening? In most of the sheets, if you notice, we are using this data source only. Order sample EU sample superstore. That's the data source which we are using in all these sheets. Now, if I go there on this particular option, which is known as apply to worksheet, it has options like only this worksheet, which means which I am selecting right now, which I have selected right now, or I can go for this one, selected worksheet. Now, selected worksheet, it will give you the list of all the worksheets in this particular workbook. For example, sheet 1, ABC pane, dual bar, all these names. That is what you get over here. Sheet 6 is disabled because we are already on it. But others are enabled over here and it gives option to select, right? So we can select these. What will happen as soon as we select any of these, the filter which you are applying over here will get applicable to on those as well, right? But it will work only and only if there is a proper relationship. If there is no relationship, then it will not work, right? So as soon as if I click OK, I selected pie and donut. So you'll see over here category and this icon came. So it says applies to selected worksheet with same data source. That's a property because it is same data source I was using. So it got applicable. In case you are getting the data from different data sources and there is no relation, this functionality will not work. So the condition is we need to have a same data source, and if it is same data source, we can apply. So that's the option which you need to keep in mind while selecting that option, selected worksheet. So in this situation, it has worked exactly the same as this one using this data source, right? This data source means the same data source which is being used by this particular sheet, it will be applicable to other those sheets. Okay, let's say if I do, okay, there is minor difference. You need to just take a note here. There is minor difference. When I say selected worksheet, I selected only 2, whereas other 3 are still unchecked. So that filter is applicable on those 2 which I have selected, category, pie and donut. It is not there on this one. It is not there on the dual bar, though I'm using the same data source, right? So this option is for selected sheet and it is using same data source in backend. But if I select this option like all using this data source, so any worksheet in this particular workbook which is using the same data source, it's going to be applicable on them, right? I selected that, I hope, using all this data source. Now if you go to any sheet, you will find category, right? So it is applicable to all the sheets where we are using this particular data source. Order sample superstore. And we can change that if you wish through this option. We can make it limited to some certain sheets only, or if you want, you can use everywhere, right? But the last option which we are getting here is all using related data source. So before I talk about it, I would like to know what is related data source. Any clue? What are related data sources? Anyone? Yeah, I think somebody was speaking.
No, it was me. I was saying that I have no clue.
Okay, all right. Anybody else? Jatin, Tracy, Maria,
I
Sashati?
think the data source where the categories or the fields are common.
Right. I mean, we can have data sources or multiple data sources where category field is there, but how would Tableau know that, okay, this is the same field?
How about when there's a relationship between those data sources, like due to a join or something?
Exactly. There has to be some relation, right? I mean, Tableau will not automatically understand that these fields are same in both. So we need to kind of create that relation. How can we do that? Either like using the joins or maybe the blending relationship. So generally it comes with blending relationship only. Uh, you need to define that relationship over here, blend relationship. And if there is a common field and your field, both the data sources are related, then this option will be functional for you using all related data sources, right? Then it will work. Otherwise, it will not work. So we need to make a relation first of all between two data sources, and then only this option is going to work. Right? Hope it is clear to everyone. All right.
Sorry, Satyendra.
Mhm.
So when you're saying relations, okay, edit by relation, related databases. So when we are when in this particular scenario, in this particular example that we have done, we have created a relation wherein we have done joins from two different data sources, right? So
Yeah. Yeah. Please go ahead.
so it would get so is it so that only in one wherein we have created relations, we would be able joins and unions, we would be able to use that. And uh, what we say, okay, can
Okay.
we have filters created on the basis of fields on two different on the basis of, you can say, drop down in one filter on one data source, one another filter on another data source.
Right. I mean, let me show you that what we are talking
Uh,
about. So as of now, all the sheets I mentioned, like we have created using this data source only. Let me go there and create one sheet using this this option. I mean this data source. So I can have, let's say, maybe a map. I think that's the best option. So this is the map which we created using the second data source. And if I go back to blend relationship, I know like my both data sources are related to each other using ship mode and subcategory. Right? Now, if I go ahead and apply this filter, let me just first of all remove the relation and then try to apply that filters. Okay, as of now, there is no relation and we want to apply this filter. So what I would do, I'll select again the category and apply to worksheets and try to use all using the related data sources. I just selected that. I'll show it once again. Apply to apply using related data sources. Now if I go to other sheets, see everywhere it is already there in the sheets where I was using the same data source. If I go to sheet 7, you don't see that filter here, right? It's not applied over here. What I will do, I'll just create that relationship once again. Let's say ship mode, one field, sorry, category, not category, edit. both side I will select ship mode. I can take category also because that is available in both category and category. So these are the relations which I have built again. And as soon as I build that relation, you'll notice this filter came automatically, right? It came only because both the data sets are related to each other now. Data sources are related to each other. That's why this filter automatically came. So this is applicable only and only if your both data sources are joined or built kind of related using data blending. I'm not using keyword called join and union right here, because once you do the union, you create only one data source. In union, you don't create multiple data sources. In union, you join two tables of a data source or maybe two different data sources, but over here on once you are in the Tableau, you will get only one data source after union. And the same thing happens with the join also. If you're talking about multiple data sources, between multiple data sources, if they have blending relationship, then you can apply this type of filter, which is known as related data sources, right? So is it clear to everyone or any doubts here?
Well, for me.
All right, yeah, feel free to ask. I mean, if you have any doubts still, we can go through once again. Now the next option what we get on a filter is like format filter and set control. So it is sorry, so over here format filter and set controls. So it is basically the formatting of the filter. That is what you get these options where you can have font, color, alignment, shading, borders, all that you can set for your filter control. Something like this. You can do that background color, maybe change the font type, make it bold. So all these options are available and you can follow that. Now going back to like other options. So below this one, format filter and set control, you got customize, and under customize, so you have couple of options like show all. As of now, you see there is a value called show all, but actually if you go for individual values under category, you will not have this all value, right? So if you want to show this all value, we can go for this as selection. If you don't want to show that, just uncheck this value, all will go away. You will not get all anymore. You'll just get the individual values which we have for category. Then we got show search button. So that is search button. Okay, I think I selected this one. If you want, you can show search button. Now this search button will allow you to search the values within that filter. So for example, furniture, if I'm trying to select, it is selected furniture over here. So these are again like on top of filter, you are applying a filter. It's kind of like that. So then include, exclude, show, include, exclude, basically the options which you get. Let's say if I do include, exclude, this is basically these options, include, exclude. We talked about this, right? Guys,
Yes, yes.
yeah, all right. Then if I go for customize,
Hello.
yes, Ashwati?
Can you repeat for this include value and exclude value?
Okay, include basically whatever, if it is include, then whatever you select over here, you will be able to see the data. that selected. If you mark that as exclude, it will work opposite. So whichever you select, that will go away from the list. If I select all, you don't see any data. If I uncheck technology, you will get the technology data.
Okay.
Right. Then okay. Then control type, show control type. What is this? Show control type. Right now you are getting control type. Okay. Let me okay. So basically the control type, actually I was getting confused. So the control type is basically, you remember like over here you have, these many options like single value drop down, multiple value drop down, slider, all these values. Though we have not covered it, but these are the different controls. You can see the control icons. That is what it shows. So over here, if you kind of, uncheck this, you don't get those options. See, you're not getting those options anymore. So if I go there, check that again and click on it, then you will get all these options, right? We'll talk about this, that how and what impact it has in a minute. Before that, show title. Title is for this one, this keyword category over here. If you uncheck that, you don't show, or if you select that, you show the title. You can change that also. Like edit title. Here we go. You can put anything, whichever you want at the name of title. So renaming those controls is very easy. Now, another thing, if I go, edit title is done, then you got single value list. As of now, if you look at this control, we are getting the check boxes and it shows all the values. It had 3 values, it is showing 3. If it will have 30, it will show all 30, right? So getting a list like this may not be helpful sometimes, right? Why I'm saying why? If you just take a look of this state. Sorry, not here, it's here. If there are 50 values in the state, you will get all those values. If there are 500, you will get all 500, right? So the problem is you need to manage your real state, the space on the page as well. So if in order to kind of manage that well, you kind of show the drop down list. Behavior is same, but you show the drop down list. For example, if I select this, it's a drop down list now. It will occupy only this much of area, but whichever value you select, you will see the data of that particular value, right? But now you might have a question like, can't I select multiple values? Because it is allowing me to select only one value at a time. So yes, we selected single value drop down. That is why one value at a time. If you do multiple value drop down, you would be able to select multiple values in the drop down. But space will be taken that only. So no change in the space, but you are allowed to select multiple values. If you go by the first option which we had, single value list, it's a radio button kind of setup. You select one value at a time, but you see all the values. Single value drop down we talked about. Now single value slider, it's basically a slider. I don't see this much effective because you cannot type, you cannot see all the values. You simply need to kind of click on this option so that you can see the next value in the line. Previous or backward, previous or forward. So that is how it is going to work. Depends on your requirement. You can implement whichever feature suits your requirement. Now the last one is the, okay, over here there is one more called custom list. I have never implemented this because I don't find like even people like it. The custom list is basically under category. Let's say you got 10 values. You can simply find out few of those and add into the list. So for example, let's say furniture. So earlier technology was there and now furniture is there. So the data will be filtered for these two only, but it is not that effective, I would say. You are just, like category has those values, but still you are typing and adding that in the list. So it's a kind of dual work what you do, right? There could be some ideal scenario for such type of implementation, but I don't find it as a good option. So I'll go back again, and wildcard, again, it's a similar to wildcard or the things, whatever keyword you type in, accordingly your data will filter, right? So generally, like most of the time, you will be using multi-value list or multi-value dropdown. Those are the maximum used filter types in Tableau. And you can see other tools also. These are the maximum used systems. Okay. Other than this, like the next options, what we are going to see. Let me just change it first of all to single value list, right? This subcategory, I kind of intentionally put it here, subcategory and category, because this is the kind of hierarchy, right? If you see furniture, under furniture you have things like, I think, bookcases, binders, chairs. These things will come under furniture. If we talk about office supplies, I believe it should be envelope, office supplies. Okay, sorry. Maybe office supplies will have binders, bookcases, and then envelope, copiers. These are office supplies. For furniture, you will have chair, table, furnishings, fasteners, maybe. I don't know. Technology, it can have machines or okay, we'll see that, right? But overall, what I want to show here is, irrespective of the value what you select here, nothing is changing in the subcategory. Though your data is changing over here, but in subcategory, nothing is changing. The list over here is static, and we show everything all the time. So that is how your option called show all the values in database works, right? But in case you want to show the related values here, when I say related values, basically, if you select technology, you want to see only the technology related items over here. If you select office supplies, you want to show only office supplies related items here. Or if you select furniture, you want to see only furniture related items over here. In case you want that, just go there and select only relevant values. As soon as you do it, if it is furniture, you get all furniture related elements. If you select office supplies, it will change it for office supplies. Or if you select technology, it will show you related to the technology. So these are the related filters what we have created. Now it will not show unnecessary values. It will show only the values which are related to these categories. The same scenario can be implemented between region and state, or maybe city and state. So whichever state you select, you see only related cities. Or if you select a particular region, you see the selected states or related states, right? Any questions as of now in these options? Any question, any doubt? Anyone?
No
Okay,
question.
okay, all right. So if that is fine, let's look into some other option related to filter. Now, let's say, let me just create one visualization first. Maybe let's take this one. Let's remove all the filters first of all. Okay, so we are getting all the states as of now. I'm going to add region as a filter and show all the values, right? So over here, let me just put it as single value drop down, single value list. So whichever you select, you get the related data. Let me remove blend. Because of this, it is little slower, maybe. Okay, right. So that is what the filter is applicable over here. Now I'll add one more filter. Let's say and if I add this, I mean, if you click on this particular filter, there is an option called add to context, right? We need to observe first that what is happening. If we are doing add to context, just take a look at what is happening. I don't think you will be getting any change as of now. No, it's the same behavior. We got region. Let me add subcategory over here. Okay. So does anybody have any clue that what it could be? What is context filter? Okay. If no, then yeah, please go ahead. I think somebody was speaking.
No, I was saying no, I have no idea.
All right. Okay. So basically, uh, once let's say we have multiple filters over here, right? Subcategory, region, and all. So what happens? Let's say if I select anything over here in this list, depending on this selection, what happens? Your values shown over here, and then on top of it, you can apply the next filter, for example, center, east, or south, right? So in this scenario, what is happening? First of all, uh, like whatever data you had, on top of that data, as soon as you select a particular filter, that is getting applicable, right? There is no priority being set, which means uh, these filters work individually on the data. That is what happens if you don't apply anything apart from this context filter. Right now, I mean, what I'm trying to say is, if there are multiple filters, they work individually on your data. But as soon as you add any filter into a context filter, so what happens? It sets the priority. It sets the priority, like whatever you select in the context filter, that will be filtered first, and basis that, so there is no data change after this. On top of the result data, this next filter will work. There is only just the priority order what changes with um, context filter. I mean, right now the example which I'm taking is not right in this scenario, I'm telling you, because the best example of this context filter comes in the case of ranks and all, because over there you need to show the order, right? Once we'll talk about the rank and all, then we can better explain and show this, that how this context filter is working. But at this moment, the example which I'm taking right now, it generally like doesn't depict it clearly. So I might cover this once again when I'm covering the rank, right? But just to kind of give a give an idea to everyone, just take it, or maybe remember this context filter. So once we cover the rank, we'll cover it once again, because that is a real use case for filters like this, right? I hope that's fine with everyone.
Yes.
All right. So except that, I think it is most of it on the filters what we covered today. In case, do you have any doubt or any question related to these filters, database filters, filter options over here, filter types? We can discuss that again.
Kendra, with regards to the context piece that we were just showing, okay, we can only have one context at a time,
Okay,
right?
context filters we can add. Let me just show you. So you got this, sorry, let me add another one. Customer name, and maybe category. So it is to set the priority of the first filter. You can add multiple filters into context, but you don't have any priority, like I mean, you cannot change the order. The way you add it, they will work in that order only. You will not have option to kind of, okay, I added these 3 filters into context, and now I want this to work first and the second one to work second. It is not like that. A context filter will kind of, the way they were added, they will work in that particular order. And the next context filter or next filter will work only on the result data of the first context filter. So that is how they set the priority.
So it just to in short, we are just creating the dependency of one filter upon another, which was not happening
Exactly.
earlier.
Exactly. Right? That is very, I mean, I would say very defined sentence. It's a dependency on one particular filter, which we apply first as a context filter. Right? But yes, we'll talk more about it, Jatin. I mean, because this example which I took so far was not the right example. It needs to be, once we'll do the ranking, then it will be very clear.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yep. All right. Okay, so we looked into the filters. Now, okay, let's talk about parameter first. Generally, what happens? Sometimes, I mean, it is my experience also. Initially, when I was working with filters and parameters, I was very confused that why parameter, because if you create a parameter, that also gives you option to kind of filter out few things. For example, let's say if I just show it, right? So by look and feel also, this is your filter, this is your parameter. By looking at it, you won't know whether it is parameter or filter, because both have same look and feel, right? And another thing, uh, filters are kind of dynamic. because basis the data, they change the values all automatically. If your data source changes, the values in the filter will change. But in the parameters, the question is like where you are getting the value from, or the next question is it going to change dynamically? If not, then how they are going to work on the data? There are many questions associated with parameters, right? So to be sure, and maybe feel free to ask once we kind of go through it, right? To just introduce this parameter, I would say this can be used in order to restrict your data on data source level. It can be used to filter out your data, or it can be used to kind of dynamically change your dimensions or measures. That, I mean, there are many use cases for parameter uses, but don't get confused with filter and parameter. I mean, that is what happened with me, so that's why I'm saying it. But parameters, likewise we saw, like depending on the data type, we had different options in filters. Similarly, we'll have minor differences in parameters also depending on data type. Now, how you create parameters, as I shown earlier, you can go there, create parameter, and from there you can come up with this pop-up. You'll get the name. You need to define the data type. You can show the current value or the default value, we call it. And then we can kind of show the display format, if it is like numerical or date, or if it is integer string, then definitely format is not required. But yes, what are the allowable values? If you want to show any list, or if you want to get your values from some field, for example this. So I'm getting all the values from city at this moment. So these are the values which I'm getting as a part of my parameter. If I say OK and show parameter, it's going to show you something like this. It's exactly same what we get in filters, right? It's similar to that. But in filters, if you are making any change, your data is changing. But in parameter, if you do anything here, nothing is happening, right? Nothing happens. We created parameters, got the values, but nothing is happening. Even over here we had subcategories, right? Let me just put the subcategories into this parameter. Sorry, not like that. Edit parameter, get the values. Okay, first of all, let me clear all. I'll get the values from subcategory.
So sorry
Okay.
to interrupt.
Huh?
So sorry to interrupt. So I'm confused over here. So what can be the main use of this parameter field? Can you just guide me on that?
Yeah, I'm coming to that. But till now, I'm just trying to show that what happens when you add a parameter, right? We are able to get the same look and feel as we have in the filter. I created the parameter also, but nothing happens over here, right? I mean, based out of the implementations what I have done so far, let me tell you, like in around 99% scenarios, parameters doesn't work without a calculated field, right? In 99% scenarios, parameters doesn't work without a calculated field. You need a calculated field with a parameter to implement it or make it functional. There are very few scenarios wherein parameter works without a calculated field, right? One of the scenario is filter. So I'll just show you the same. I think Aman asked that question today. So for example, there is a state on filter. I'll go to top by field. Over here, let's say I select top, and I'm going to add new parameters, right? You are getting an option here called create new parameters. Or maybe if you have already created a parameter, you will get that name over here, right? Now you might ask, over here it is parameter 2, but I'm getting the parameter 1, right? Okay, I'll come to that point. But before that, let me just create new parameter. Parameter 3, current value is 10. minimum 1, maximum 100. Step size, maybe I can give, let's say 1. And I will say apply. So parameter 3 got added over here. It has by default 10. Now I can change these values. You see, I'm changing it and your data is also changing. I can put any number. Let me make it edit parameters. Let me not give as a range. I'll give as a list or maybe all. So in case of all, I can enter any value and depending on that, it will show the data. I can type 5. It can show me top 5 or bottom 5, whichever was selected. If it is 8, it is going to show me 8. Right? This is one of the scenario where we are not going to use calculated field. It's working directly. There is one more in case of bins, so that we will cover once we cover the bin. But over here, the filter operation is working without a calculated field by just using a parameter. Right? So this parameter is linked with our data and it is working fine, perfectly fine. Now, let's talk about this parameter once again, parameter 2. So we have the values, but I said that it is not linked with our data, and that's the reason it is not doing anything, whichever, even if I'm selecting any value over here, it's not doing anything, right? In order to make it work, we need a calculated field, and then we can create a filter so that we get data according to this parameter over here. And for that, I need a calculated field. So above parameter, you got create calculated field option, right? And for the benefit of everyone, let me tell you, this is the place where you need to write something in Tableau. As of now, we have not written anything. It was just drag and drop or exploring more options. This is the only place where we will write something in Tableau. So how would you write? You'll get help from these options, these functions, which is listed over here. For example of any of these, you can see the example. You will get help that what a function does and how and where you can utilize that. You will get the answers, a sample examples over here, so it will be helpful for you. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to basis this parameter, I'm going to write one condition so that we can filter out our data. Right now, when we created this parameter, I know like I given the values of subcategory over here. So I know like these are subcategories. What I can do is I can go here, write a condition if subcategory, the field which I have, is equal to this parameter, which is parameter 2, then 1, else 0. Let me type this in a string and end the condition. Just one line of if condition I have written, and I'll kind of, maybe I can give the name to this. I'll say filter underscore subcategory. Apply, and this filter got created over here, right? Now what I need to do is I'll just add this one over here and select all the true values. True means 1, false means 0. Why it is true, 1 is true and 0 is false? Because that is what I defined over here in the condition. If it is equal, it is 1, otherwise 0. So that is what I defined, and accordingly I'm getting the values over here. Now if I go to this parameter and change anything, right, you will notice the values are changing because now my parameter is linked with the data. What I needed in order to make it functional, one calculated field which I'm using as a filter. It is working as a filter over here. Does it make sense?
Sir, I have one question. So, if I'm not wrong, calculated field means where we can give our condition
We can
or
give our
any
yeah we,
calculation.
yeah we can give our condition. We can do the calculation. Both the things are possible.
Okay. So here we can define how many number of parameters, or it is like we can define n number of parameters.
You can define a number of parameters. There is no limit as such.
Okay. And while you were showing the field, you are showing parameter one was disabled,
Parameter 1 was
like it was not coming, right?
oh, okay. Parameter
Yeah.
1 was not coming or 2 was not coming. 1 was coming in
Uh,
the list.
yeah, two was not coming.
Right. Okay. So if I edit any of these parameters, over here we have data type. It is a string, right? And you got float, integer, string, boolean, date, and date and time. For see over here, go by these icons over here. So 3 and 1 are numerical. 2 is what? String.
Yeah.
Correct?
Correct.
If I go back to that particular filter, top, see what we need is I want top 10, top 5, right? I need a numerical entry.
Yeah.
That is why it was showing all the numerical parameter, not the string one.
Okay.
Right? It's 1
Okay.
and 3 that is being shown now, but it is not showing the 2 because that is string type. Right. Yeah. Any other doubt? Any other question? Anyone?
Ajit, sorry, Satyendra.
Mhm.
With regards to over here, when you're entering the calculate field, okay, if for values also we have entered the figures in quotes. So is it
Okay.
so that for both values and strings that we are required to enter quotes, or it's only one of these cases that we are enter quotes?
Okay. You remember when I was saying like measure values or numerical values, in order to use them on a filter, either you convert them into discrete or change it into dimension. Then you can use it. Right? That's what I mentioned. Now over here, it's not foundation to use numbers. I was using numbers. See what will happen if I simply use numbers. Okay, 0 and 1. I use simple numbers. What will happen? I'll get that field over here under measures. Where is that? Okay, sorry, I'm getting over here only. But it's a numerical value. If I drag it on filter, it will give me option. Okay, no, I think we have already used it. That's why it is not behaving in that way. Otherwise, what happens? 0 and 1, it will come as a numerical value and it will show into the measures. And then if you add it over here on the filter, it will try to do the aggregation. So in order to avoid that, on the very first level, what I did, I added them as a string. So if I make it code, single quote or double quote, it becomes a string. I was trying to show them as a string, not as a number, right? Not necessary that you go for 0 and 1. Not necessary that you go for 0 and 1. You can have true or false as well, right? Anything, whichever you want. It is just to flag out like where your condition met and where your condition is not met. Okay, is that clear?
Yes, Satyendra, got you. And one more question, Satyendra. So the rest of the logic while entering the calculate field for if suppose a subcategory is equal to or if suppose if I'm entering if product name is equal to garments, something like that, it should be it would be normal case as quotes, right? Double quotes or single quotes as in the normal case.
Yes, in Tableau both are same. Either you type double quote or single quote, they are going to work similarly.
So I'm talking from the characters point of view. So if I'm defining only, instead of parameter one, I'm looking for a specific category only. So I
Let
need to
me
enter the same in double quotes or without quotes will do.
maybe I'm not getting Jatin. You're saying in parameters, let's say,
So not over here. So on the formula field.
okay, on the formula field.
Yeah. When I'm entering the formula, instead of parameter 2, I want only one of the specific category that I want to look out for.
Okay. Yeah, then you need to use that either single quotes or double quotes. Let's say you are just hard coding a value here.
Perfect. Hard coding. Yeah. Sorry. Missed that part.
So you can simply use, let's say it's copiers. So you can use either single quotes or double quotes. That is what you need to use. So for copiers, it is this. For others, it will not work because I have given only copiers as a value.
And take a point from the what Saraswati has raised, that we can have multiple number of if functions being created over here, right?
Right. Within a condition, you can write multiple if or if else is there, right? So you have if else functionality, else if, so that you can use.
Sorry to
Okay.
interrupt. Can you come again for this copier? I didn't get that question.
Okay. So the second question was, can we use multiple if conditions over here? Right. So for that, we have if else, and you can write multiple conditions using if else. Right. And before this, the question was, can we hard code some value over here in terms of okay, this is basically wrong at this moment. Wrong, why? Because this is a field and this is the hard coded value. There is no relation between parameter as of now. What I can do is I can take parameter 2. Now this thing is like, it is looking for if in parameter I have value as copiers, then it will filter out, otherwise it will not. Even this will not work because there is no relation between the data as of now. We need both the condition, like parameter 2 is equal to copier and maybe the field which I have subcategory, because there has to be a direct relation with parameter and data, then only it will be functional. So just to answer Jatin, your question, like hard coding will work like this, but in current scenario this parameter will not be functional because condition is, I mean, this parameter is not directly linked with our table.
Got it, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Shashwati, is that clear to you also?
Yeah, it's clear.
Okay, fine. So this is another use of parameter what we saw. Now, when we are connecting to databases, for example, if I come here, so I think this was the Excel sheet which I was connected to. In Excel sheet, you don't get any option to kind of filter out your data on data source level using parameters. See, this filter works once you are connected to the whole data and you are trying to pull data into Tableau, then this filter works, right? But let's say you are connected to some database. For example, I'll go to Microsoft SQL Server and I'll select, let's say, MyDB. I have one table here for sample superstore. That's a test DB. I can bring any of these tables here. Let's say sample superstore. Yes. This is the table which I brought, right? Now again, because it is a table, I cannot write query. Let me write a query over here. New custom SQL. I will type select star from I hope this name is correct. Sample superstore. Preview results. Yes, here we go. Now what I want to do is I want to write a condition here where category is equal to, let's say if I do copiers, then okay, it's not filtering the data, is something wrong. Copiers. Okay, that is subcategory, not category. Okay, so we have got the data for this particular where condition, copiers, right? If we know the values, we can definitely hard code it over here in the SQL Server query itself. But in case we want to drive it through parameters, we can do that also, right? And in order to do that, I will have to use my parameter. So I'm going to use my parameter 2 where I had values of subcategory. I'm putting that on the query level so that what will happen once we are connected to data, it will fetch values related to only which is selected in this particular parameter, bookcases, right? Bookcases is selected over here. If I would like to see the data, it will be of bookcases only. You can see the subcategory. It's bookcases only. If I select some other value, for example, let's say paper, and I go to the data, it's only paper, right? Which means we are, if it is a database, we are able to restrict data on source level using parameter also. This will restrict the data and you will be able to kind of, depending on the user, right? Like whatever user want to see, only that data will come from database to your Tableau. So that is the another use of parameters, right? Any questions here regarding this implementation of parameter and filter? Anyone, or is it clear?
No question.
So, just,
Okay,
so when
all
you're
right.
changing, when you're hello,
Yeah, Jatin, please go ahead.
so when you're changing the appliance, the parameter two over here, the data is not changing in the graph.
Okay, uh, that, I mean, data is changing. The problem is I'm not using orders over here, right? It's a different data source. I'll show you another on another sheet. Now I'll bring the fields from this particular data source where I have implemented parameters. So for example, let me take category. I can take subcategory 2 and we can take sales or profit, whichever you want, or maybe segment. I want cross table only. Yeah, here we go. whatever values you change over here, accordingly your data will change. Storage, supplies, appliances, right? In sheet number 6, we were not getting any field from this particular data source where the parameter was applied in the query. We were getting everything from here only.
Thank you.
Okay. So other than this, I mean, there are few more use cases of parameter and calculated field, but that is like they need bigger implementation, for example, hierarchy and then changing the dimensions and all. So I think we can cover that in the next session. For today, I think that's all. If you have any question, we can definitely discuss, or otherwise let's call for the day. Right. So if anybody has any question, any doubt from this session, previous one, we can certainly discuss that right now. Or any access issues I think people are having to the recordings so that we can solve.
No question for me.
I have one question. Like in Tableau, is it same data types we can use, or is there any change in the data type as well? Like what all data types we can use in Tableau?
Okay. So going back here, you can just click on sort field. Primarily, you got, let me show metadata. Okay, we can't see any metadata here, but in terms of data type, you got numerical values. Under numerical values, you have two types. One is continuous and discrete. So green color shows continuous, and blue color shows discrete fields. Then you got text fields, date and time, date, and geographical fields. Only these type of data types you will find, right? I'll show you
Okay.
like how you can see all of them. You just right click on any of these types over here. You'll get the list. It's a number, decimal, number, whole number, date and time, date, string, and then these are the
Okay.
geographical roles. Only these
Okay.
things you will find. Yeah.
Okay. Fine.